That's okay. My comment's actually for you, Norma. You said something earlier that kind of resonated with me, is that another black person can be your worst enemy. I think we've heard that a lot. Even when you're traveling, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, it's a black immigration officer, my worst, you know. So I just wanted to know your experience with training black police officers. What did that look like?
Because they do not understand where they came from.
Yep.
Yes. They need to understand where they came from. And especially those that were born in Canada into what we call a good life. They have not gone back and read history, and of course black history is not taught in the schools. So I help them to realize where they came from, or where their ancestors came from, why they're flourishing now, and how they need to be more compassionate and sensitive, especially to those blacks that have been traumatized. Yeah, and I find that when you hear their story and you share like we're sharing today, they don't change like that, but they do take away things, or they come back and they ask. Yeah, because I will say, when you see a young man on the street, for goodness sake, don't think of him as being a bad kid. That should not be your first thing. It's, what can I do to help you today? Yeah, is there something I can do? It's like when your children get home from school, you don't say to them, how was your day? It's better to say, what was the best thing in your day today? And then afterwards, you will find that they're telling you what was the worst thing. Yeah, so it's a lot of education and sensitivity, and not saying that you're better educated or better off than they are. You just want them to come to an understanding that if we had not had that background of enslavement and colonization, we would not be here today to help you understand it. Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Good question. Due to time, we're gonna narrow down the questions. So the next one is in terms of the current day manifestations of anti-black racism. So I think, as we said before, intersectionality. I would like to touch upon it because, do you guys know what intersectionality means, or do I? So I don't need to define it. So the question that I have is, in our day and age, how do you reconcile your blackness with other identities, and have your identities shaped your life experiences? For example, for being a black woman. Because the thing that inspired this question actually is because I got a comment 2 years ago on social media, which is the greatest thing, isn't it? A question that said, excuse my language, but it sent to me that said, you can't be a nigger and a terrorist, you have to choose one. So that's what someone said to me. So in the sense of it's hard in the sense of you can't exist without recognizing that, hey, I am a Muslim woman, but also I'm a black woman, because that means different things in different spaces. So how would that, in sense of your identities of being a black woman or a black man in Canada, how does it reconcile?
Interesting question. So for me, my parents were my compass, and they told me don't focus on the black and the white stuff, focus on yourself, growing yourself, overcoming stuff, loving yourself, and know your true identity. When you create your narrative of who you are, it doesn't matter, right? Those ones, the person said that comment, wife experienced this kind of stuff, and I said to myself, thank God I'm not married to that person. Imagine being married to that person. That's not the person I want to be with. They don't belong in my life. You go over here, I'm on this lane. That's what I've had to do, because when you start believing these narratives of stuff, people saying, oh, blacks need to do this, whites need to do this, it's nonsense. You have a goal, you know your purpose in life, execute it, get the help, get a mastermind group, focus on that, nothing else matters. But when you start thinking and believing these people's stories, their job is to pull you down. You need to find people who give you wings to lift you up, not the anchors, which are those kind of people, they'll pull you down. So you create your own narrative, because when you think you are the victor, you will become the victor. When you think you're the victim, you will stay the victim.
Yes.
Victims and victors are the same person, but it's how they perceive their mindset, how to excel from it. I know it's a little hokey pokey, but when you do this kind of thing, you stay true to your course, your mission, your journey, you will succeed.
And get some mentors. Get some mentors
You need mentors. I had
Yeah,
mentors.
without mentors, you're not moving in the right direction. And your mentor could be your dad, could be an aunt, a cousin, a good friend. Get someone that doesn't necessarily agree with what all you say, but someone you can share your heart with. Someone can say, let's really think about that. Is that truly what you want to do? Get a vision and a dream. What is my purpose in life? What am I born on this earth for? Am I on this earth, and what is my purpose? And who can help me move my purpose? Because they say if you don't have a goal, you're not going in there. It's like going someplace without a compass, some kind of direction to lead you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
I'm so passionate about this because I work with youth every day, and sometimes I see them come back, and this young lady here says she works at the youth shelter. In Mississauga, there's a youth shelter, and I go in and talk to the youth about the reason you left home. And I don't judge, and I say, here are a few things you can do if you ever need to go back home. And then I went to a high school about 3 months later talking to grade 12, and a student in the class stood up and say, Miss Norma, do you remember me? And I say, oh, I am so sorry, I don't. And she says, I used to live in the shelter, and you had come one day, and we talked about getting my mom help, because it was my mom that was ill, that was driving us crazy. And we followed through, and here I am in school and blossoming. So yeah, youth, they just take in a lot. Sometimes they don't really respond, but they act on some of what you share with them. Positive.
Want to go?
Well, it's the identity thing that you're talking about. The question there is that actually I would turn it around and say, the experiences that I have had as a woman, as a black person in this community we're talking about, racism, and as a Muslim woman, those identities, all three of them, the experiences that I have had with those experiences actually have given me my identity.
Yeah.
That's why I say I'm turning it around.
Yeah.
The experiences that I have had with all three of them, and all three of them happen to be the kinds of groups that you will have some negative connotation or disadvantages. I can call them disadvantages as a woman. There are a lot of disadvantages, being a girl, being a woman. For example, in Sierra Leone, we take it for granted in Canada that every child goes to school, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same in Africa. It's not the same in Sierra Leone. Usually the families they make a choice. Even if the children from 5 to 10 go to school, once you get there, there's a choice. The boys go to school.
Yep.
The girls don't go to school. It's evolving, but it has taken a long time, and it's still there.
That's shameful.
So they are not discriminating. It's just they have to prioritize. They don't have the money to send all the children to school. So as a girl, I was fortunate, and I had a role model, my brothers, because I had 3 brothers before me. So when it came to the time that I was to go to school, my uncle said, no, she's not going to school. The boys will go to school. She's gone up to elementary school, so she cannot go. My brothers stood up.
Beautiful.
And that's why I went to school.
Yeah.
And on to university. So that's what I'm talking about. All those experiences. As a Muslim woman, you live, Islamic religion teaches you, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It is structured. There are things you have to do. Like your 5 daily prayers, you have your pillars of Islam, and all of those things really make you live a very structured life. So those experiences, and then you put in the racism here as being disadvantaged on the job, and all of the other things that we have been talking about. Those are 3 distinct minority things or disadvantaged things that I have lived with. And those experiences actually have made me stronger.
Yeah. It's like working in the gym, right? Like it's
because
painful.
I've had to
Yeah.
handle them, and I have handled them, and for me, they came out, as a positive,
Yeah.
and made me stronger.
It's beautiful.
So I'm not the worst for it. I am the better for it.
Yeah.
This is the way I see those identities all coming together, because by handling all of them and having to comply with all of the things that come with them, I am a stronger person.
So Victor versus Victor.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
Victor.
You didn't have to deny yourself of who you are.
Yeah.
You were a black woman first.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
That's what I can relate to.
Yeah,
I
What is,
cannot relate to.
yeah,
Shakespeare says it best: "To thy own self be true. Be true to yourself."
yeah.
Exactly. As someone who also has the same identities as you, like I don't know about you guys, but I got like emotional hearing you talking because I feel the same way in the sense that like it's my identities that even made me go into child and youth care work and what made me want to do what I want to do with my life. And also what you guys said about the importance of mentors.
Yeah.
I have a mentor in addition to being like a mentee.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's like seeing someone who looks like you and etc., giving you the confidence to be able to do everything in your life, etc. I think it's very crucial.
Mhm.
And I would like to say the importance of being even a mentor to younger people.
Mhm.
Like you may necessarily might think, oh, I don't have the knowledge for it, etc. But again, just being positive and being there for the youth and etc. can make such a difference in people's lives.
You have like more than one mentor. I have like three: business, speaking, fitness, and that's what works for me. It doesn't matter for me if it's black and white. Whoever's successful, teach me. I'll learn and I'll grow. That's how I operate.
So, we're going to the end, but I would like to open up the floor to the audience questions. I'm going to shorten my panel, so if you guys have any questions, you can put your hand up and we can ask the
I have
panel.
a question about representation. So we
Yes.
talked a lot about that and multiculturalism. So I just wanted to get your take on that. Do you think we're actually doing enough when it comes to representations in workplaces, or do you think it's tokenism? And by tokenism, I mean so a lot of workplaces will say, okay, well we have at least one person from this black person, so we have the check mark. We're diverse. So what do you think when it comes to that?
Diversity without inclusion is very false. So you can see in some workplaces they check off the numbers, but if I am added to the workplace and I have no say, I'm not included in the discussions and the decisions, it is just checking off.
Yeah.
So wherever there is diversity, be sure that there is inclusion. You have to include me as you include everyone else, whether it's at a team meeting, a staff meeting, making decisions about our Christmas party, making decisions about how the office is set up, how the clients are seen. If I am not engaged as a black person that has been hired by that organization, it is presenting falsehood to the public. So diversity without inclusion is not it's very negative. They just check off the numbers, and that person may not even stay in that workplace for a long time because they're not valued.
And equal opportunity, I believe, because we have to throw everything, like the color, the tall, the shape, like it's equal opportunity for all, and the one who succeeds is based on the qualifications. That's it, I think.
Yeah, that's where I have similar belief system, whereby if you're being hired, that's great, and I teach people how to get the positive mindset. And I recently had this one lady, she is black, she was in a dead-end job, not working out well, hates it, she was a nurse, but she wanted to go for this higher role. And by teaching her mindset, I found out that her true belief system was, I'm a fraud and I'm not in my niche. But we changed it to, I have my niche and I have value. She got the position and she's just rocking the position. So when you come into position, because you're black, doesn't mean you can slide back and I got the position. You gotta rise up, be accountable, get your stuff done, send it in early, be the kind of person saying, hey, I think we should do this and that, take control of the situation. Don't go there with a little whisper and sit holding up position. You have to make sure you lead by example, because when I was the only black person in this import-export company, they hired other black people because based on how I conducted myself, right? Because they never had that before. They said, this guy works, so let's hire another one. They hired a lady, I think in claims, she was black. They hired another lady, and it started changing. But what if I came in and I was just horrible? wasn't showing for work? What if I had a low self-esteem, not working out well? They wouldn't think to hire. So you got to represent, when you're in there, represent, come at a high level, right? Fail forward is what I tell people. You may not get it right, but fail forward, keep trying, do not give up, keep growing yourself, and that's how you really succeed.
Yeah, but also the opposite is true of what you said.
True.
That first of all, the numbers will not matter if you're just they're ticking them off. They don't matter at all, because then you are just there, not being of any use except doing your regular, and then you are out of there. But the other thing I want to say is that sometimes you work very hard.
Yeah.
And I've seen that many times. People do their work, they do it very well, and they have their peers, the people they work with. And it comes time that they know, the people who hire you, the bosses, and even your workmates know that you perform better than I do. But if the person who does the better work is a black person, they don't get promoted as easily.
Well, then that's not the company you should be at. Leave.
No,
That's
it's
what
not.
you gotta
It's
do.
easier said than done.
Yeah.
I would say,
That's what I teach. so.
because I know that's what
Yeah.
you teach, but that's also the other side of the coin. Then you get frustrated because
True.
everybody knows that you are being skipped, and they will promote the other person. You stay, and you do what you have to do. But then when you lose your momentum, for example, you go in, as you say, you do very well. But then, you are human. Sometimes you feel a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I've experienced that, and that's why I left.
And
Move
Just
forward.
a quick comment. I feel like leaving doesn't really deal with the problem, because the next person, the black person in that position, will also experience the same thing.
True.
And most likely, if you move to a different position, you will also experience the same thing.
No, not necessarily. You can. It's all based on mindset. Now,
Yeah.
I know it's kind of back and forth and stuff, but hear me out here. Now, when I was having to travel further and out low pay, and it was just rough and horrible, I knew that my vision was to move forward. I got out, bettered myself. Now, it's like being in a bad relationship. If you have a horrible spouse who doesn't support you, value you, why are you going to stay? Right? You can keep on crumbling and try and make the relationship work, but sometimes you got to let it burn and move on to something better. Right? It's like some companies open and close. There's thousands of opportunities out there, but I tell people, who knows you refers you, got to network. And through networking, like 90% of all opportunities are found through networking. That's how I got out, just things better, into better organizations which love black people, which loved other people like myself, and that's how I grew. But there's some hellholes. It is what it is. It will always be a hellhole. You can be the best worker, but it's still a hellhole. So you leave and evolve. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, what would you say to someone who perhaps wants to try and make a difference or change the circumstances for the next person, similar to your question? Because I think that there's a lot of places where people have really, really struggled to maybe get that internship or that volunteer opportunity or that job. So what would you say to someone who maybe wants to break down some of those negative barriers?
Okay, find out how your boss thinks and model it. Okay, so if the boss is thinking that I need this by this time, you give it to them early. That's what I did with my one boss I had, whereby I kept sending my stuff in late. It was just my stupidity and stuff, and she was getting more angry, and it was a horrible environment. But when I said, you know what, she wants things handed to her early and detailed, guess what? She wants it on a Friday, I'm sending it to her on a Wednesday. Hey, what do you think? Start talking to the boss. Start getting in their face of like, what do you think of this idea? I think we should take this direction. Just saying. And then people are forced to look at you and understand, right? But when you're sitting there quietly, you're not going to proceed. Know that you have value and really push yourself forward. It's maybe challenging, but you're in for the long haul, right? And keep networking. That's the key. Who knows you refers you, okay?
Amazing. So you have one more question? Because it is 12 o'clock. So
Wow.
would you like to have a question? Like last
It's a bit of a long question, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I kind of want to get their thoughts on it.
Okay.
Okay, no worries.
So
I think it's okay.
it's more on, I kind of like the discussion more on the law enforcement aspect and the relationship to the black community. Just to clarify, sorry, I think everyone can tell, but I'm not black. Like I'm like a dark South Asian person.
Yeah.
But it gets confusing at university because people can't tell.
Yeah.
And also some of these are my students.
Yeah.
They don't really care about the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really thinking, because I like the fact that some of my students are here. We do a lot of modeling and coaching, so these guys are in grade 7 and grade 10.
Awesome.
Grade 9.
Excellent.
So
Love
these
it.
guys kind of want to learn. But I kind of want to know your thoughts. I don't know if everyone's heard about kind of police officers in schools and the specific policy. The thing is that when we're thinking about improving relationships with the law enforcement community, I actually thought that removing police officers from schools was more of a bad idea. And the reasoning is I was in the schools where they had police officers. I'm from a pretty rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
And my view was, before this, the only time students ever interact with police officers is usually because something happened. It was like a negative context. And the police officers also only interacted with students when they thought something was happening, whether it was justified or unjustified. And the way I kind of viewed it is, growing up in a school with a police officer, like middle school and high school, is that you got to know police officers in a non-negative context and actually build a relationship. You know, maybe they know you, so if something happens, they won't just jump to conclusions. They're like, I know this guy.
Agreed.
Maybe today's a bad day.
Yeah.
So I know it's a very controversial issue, but I kind of wanted to know how you guys felt about that policy. I know one idea is, the school to prison pipeline, but the other one is, building a long-term relationship.
I just had a business meeting on that. It was yesterday, and it's with the, real short. It's with the LAMP program, and they have the community and the police officers working together, and they do mentorship. So that answers your question. I believe that is a good way to go, where they both understand each other and learn.
But not all schools have taken
Yeah.
them out. In Peel region, we did not.
That's it?
Yeah, we did not.
Okay, this is the end of our panel. Thank you guys for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you to our panelists.